associates, technical communication is all about the audience, right? And we think a lot about the usability of a document, and we also like to build a strong writing process with revising and drafting. All of that is important to creating the best document to reach our goals and ultimately help our end users. But what are we actually revising for, and what is the content that we are creating in that? This video walks through the introductory level concepts for the writing choices and just information hierarchies that help our audiences get to the purpose of our messages and help us ultimately organize our content in usable ways. Throughout this video, we're going to use this little scenario as an example. Our department has some unspent funds, and I received a request for proposal, or RFP, for ideas on how we might use those funds to ultimately further our team's efficiency and productivity. Keep that example in mind as we break down just the basic writing choices and info design. As a quick reminder, our writing choices always go back to our audience analysis and the persona that we imagine our target users represent. We start by answering, what is their deal? What do they expect? What do they know about the topic? When will this be valuable? When will the information be used? When will the document be accessed? And why are they reading our document? Why do they need this information? Then we combine our answers to the what, when, and why into a nice statement that ultimately guides all of our decisions and choices with the rest of our document. We also do need to think about the document's form, formality, and any reader or office politics that might come into play and change our writing choices. With our example, my audience will be, colleagues and ultimately kind of the higher order budget folks. So my audience persona that's going to guide my writing choices might look like, my audience expects researched and feasible products, technology, or goods that relate to office productivity because they are in leadership positions that require data-driven decisions and approvals. The RFP will be valuable when they make the final decision on how to spend the budget. So they are reading my proposal for credible insights on how the proposed tools will actually support the work. So now that I know my audience and purpose, which is to persuade these decision makers that buying the new tablets that I want is a feasible use of the money that is going to increase productivity and help our department do our jobs, I need to make writing choices that organize my content and information towards that goal. We typically organize information for technical communication into 5 major sections that help the audience reach the goal. And these sections exist whether it's as short as an email or as long as a giant grant or formal report. Title, and maybe a summary if it's a longer document. The title specifies the scope of the work and is the first entry point into what to expect. The title might come in the form of a subject line if it's an email or a memo. Then the introduction. This is where we tell them what we're going to tell them. It is preparing the reader for the middle of our document and drop some of the words or concepts they will encounter. The introduction should outline the flow and order of the rest of the information. Middle, this is where we tell them the thing we needed to tell them. Our sources, data, our charts, and the other evidence in our argument and purpose lives here. Use your outlining process to check that the information flows in a logical order. And if you get lost in your own middle, your reader probably is going to also. Conclusion. Summarize the middle and provide a future-looking perspective. And then a works cited or appendices, just other supplemental information that might help your reader and build your credibility. My example might be outlined like this, and it is going to be presented as an email to that first level primary stakeholder. I identify what the email is about in the subject line. I overview what my pitch is in the introduction, and then outline some of the reasons, knowing my audience a bit, why the pitch is a good idea. Then I'll wrap up with a last statement to review the big points and further my idea. Now the next basic but super important concepts for information organization is choosing some strategies that will help with the organization. Next, I'm going to outline a few basic but super important strategies that will help you organize your information. You can keep these in your back pocket, but honestly, I take them out in pretty much every document I create. Descriptive headings. Headings and signposts are pretty much always helpful. Emails, blogs, formal reports, flyers, even videos use them. Give them a heading to show how your information is nested. And a good heading is going to capture the big picture of the section in just 1 to 8 max words. We like to keep it short and find the core of what that section is all about. Topic sentences. These are the statements that kick off your new paragraphs and sections to tell the reader what you're about to say. Every sentence, visual, and concept after the topic sentence should expand on and relate to your opening promise. The fastest way to confuse the information in a document is nixing that topic sentence. One trick that I use to really check in on and make sure I'm doing my topic sentences is to actually highlight them during the drafting process so I keep focused. Lists. Technical documents are by nature of our genres, sharing complicated and action-focused information with our users. And so a list is a great way to break down that information in an organized fashion. Of course, don't put lists just everywhere, because if everything is in a bullet point, then nothing is in a bullet point. But if you have steps, evidence you want to emphasize, or other elements that represent, parts to a whole concept, consider how a list will keep you clean, clear, and organized. There's a lot more. Literally an entire semester and course worth of learning for information design, graphic design, visual rhetoric. So if you're interested, definitely take a look out for those opportunities. But these things are going to give you a great start and foundation as an intro to having more organized, better designed documents. At a minimum, make sure that you are working on descriptive headings. Really think about your topic sentences and consider highlighting them as you practice and learn and get better at writing them. And consider using lists for a lot of technical communication items. These strategies will help keep your reader on track through your introduction, your middle, and your conclusion to make sure that they reach the goal and the purpose you expected. For my RFP on the budgets, I'm going to revise this email to have some headings and lists that will allow my reader to skim and ultimately draw attention to the evidence and points that I really want to present. I'm also going to take a minute to focus on my topic sentences and just make sure that my pitch actually flows in a logical, natural order. And while I'm working on that, I have 2 last tips for you. Choosing the right words is important for technical comm, but honestly, the big action here is just don't make your work needlessly complex. This is something I'm still working on, we often have to keep working on, but here are 2 things that will help you make better writing choices within your intro, your middle, your conclusion, and all the strategies for how you design your content. First, use stronger verbs. A strong verb really directs the action and ultimately helps the reader imagine what you are talking about. Here's a classic example of a weak verb: study. There's a lot of things that I can picture if somebody says study. So it's not really directing the sentence, the task, the action, or the concept very well. So instead of study, we might use stronger verbs like reviewing flashcards or drawing a cartoon about the concept. Now I can really accurately picture what it is you are trying to help me do or explain to me. Second, use natural language. So this gets easier the more that you write and develop your writing voice, but just honestly don't try so hard to sound some type of way that just isn't natural to you. Of course, we have standards of formality and professionalism that will change with our audience, but at the end of the day, write in a way and in sentences that make sense to you. If you finish writing a sentence, you read it back, and you realize you really don't know what you were trying to say at all, your reader is also not going to know what you're trying to say. So revise it to just feel like your more natural way of explaining it. One thing I do is actually explain that thing out loud to myself, as if I'm talking to somebody, and then I write that sentence down. Alright, associates, that was just a basic intro to information organization that will set a foundation for later discussions about document design a little deeper. The information organization here also built on our conversations about usability. You might even find a lot of usability tests and things that you're experiencing run into problems because the headings are not descriptive. The topic sentences don't really explain or outline the content, and things just aren't able to be skimmed and emphasized and found. So it all works and connects together. Thanks all. Vibes.